Welcome everybody, please have a seat. This is the 14th Marcel Grossmann meeting on recent developments in theoretical and experimental general relativity, astrophysics, and relativistic field theories. The first welcoming address talk will be by Professor Remo Ruffini.
It was already in 72 when in Trieste a small group of relativists around Abdus Salam and Chandrasekhar and Marcel started the Marcel Grossmann meeting. And here we have the fortune today to have even two persons who were at the first meeting, Madame Choquet-Bruhat. You cannot hear? It's okay? Better? Cosa c'è? Ah, sì. Madame Choquet-Bruhat was there, and Francis Everitt, who are still today with us. Since then, the next slide, just la prossima, per favore, la prossima diapositiva. The Grossmann meeting have been traveling all over the world. We were in Trieste, then we had a memorial meeting in China where for the first time people, scientists from all over the world were admitted, and there was a special occasion to have also participants from Israel at the time in China for the first time, and Iran was among the representing there. And then in Rome, then in Perth in Australia, in the beautiful town of Perth with the beautiful university, and then in Kyoto, where there was the award to Stephen Hawking, then in Stanford, Jerusalem, Rome in 2000, and then the epochal meeting of Rio de Janeiro. That was very important because at that meeting in Rio de Janeiro, the entrance of Brazil into ICRANet was started. And today we have the great honor to have the ambassador of Brazil with one of the member states with Armenia of ICRANet to be here with us at the inauguration. After Rio de Janeiro, we move to Germany in another epochal meeting, and then at UNESCO in Paris in the 12th meeting, and then the last one in Stockholm, and finally we are back here in Rome in this MG14. We are participants from practically all over the world, and we expect more to arrive, and I'm sorry for this rush for the preparation. But I would like to call on the people who will receive the Marcel Grossmann Award. The next slide shows another activity which will be in parallel, a satellite meeting to the Grossmann meeting, which is going to be very, very interesting, is this activity at the Besso Foundation, which will be during the entire week, and in particular during the entire week, and in particular a ceremony on Wednesday at the Besso Foundation, where Hanok Gutfreund and Jürgen Renn have prepared a very unique exhibition of the Einstein manuscript with the collaboration of Princeton University. And we have also the great pleasure to have Claudia Graf, the grandchild of, the granddaughter of Marcel Grossmann, and which Tilman Sauer are going to present one of their latest book. The next slide shows the next one, the symbol of the Marcel Grossmann Award, the particle going around the Kerr black hole. Roy Kerr, unfortunately, is not with us today, but he sent us a message and is planning to be at the next MG15. These are the particle trajectory around the Kerr black hole, and this is the symbol of the Marcel Grossmann meeting. It was obtained by integration of the equations by Mark Johnston at Princeton, and now is the symbol of the Grossmann meeting. The next one is the picture of the actual realization of the symbol of which is the Marcel Grossmann Award in silver, which we have here somewhere, dove sono, oh yes, down in that place. And I would like to call the Director General of ESA to sit here with us in the first row. And in the first row, and then Professor Sinai next to the Director General of ESA, and the next slide on the right. And then Martin Rees, and then Kenichi Nomoto, and Sachiko Tsuruta. And now that we have the quorum, we can start with the ceremony of the award. And I would like to ask first, but before that, I would like first to ask some of the people present to say a few words, and I would like to ask first the ambassador of Brazil to give a few words of starting this Marcel Grossmann Award in view of this splendid collaboration between Italy and Brazil, which is going on through the years, and all the centers that we are developing, not only in Rio, but also in 10 other places in Brazil.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning to all. It's a great honor for me to take part in this very important event. Brazil and ICRANet, as mentioned by Professor, have a thriving relationship. To Brazil, the partnership with ICRANet stems from the priority given to the development of science, technology, and innovation in many fields, including astrophysics. The research in this area, however existent in Brazil in the previous decades, started to flourish in our country in the 80s, when scientists and the Brazilian government created a national laboratory of astrophysics. In the following years, research on the physics of the universe has been intensified in Brazil. When ICRANet was being conceived, Brazil took the opportunity to be a founding member state. Nowadays, there are many activities being carried out by ICRANet with 14 Brazilian universities and research institutes. It's important to mention, moreover, that Professor Ruffini and I signed a seat agreement in 2013 at the Brazilian Embassy in Rome, allowing ICRANet to establish headquarters in Rio de Janeiro, where the Brazilian Science Data Center is being created. This new institution will provide Latin American researchers with access to wide-ranging data. It's worth noting that many events on astrophysics were held in Brazil last April within the framework of this fruitful cooperation between ICRANet and Brazilian institutions, and also in the context of the celebrations of both 100 years of the Einstein equations and the International Year of Light and Light-Based Technologies. I'm sure that the 14th Marcel Grossmann meeting will bring meaningful contributions to the discussions on the recent developments in the relativistic astrophysics field. I would like to wish you all a great time working together. Thank you.
And I would like to ask now another member of ICRANet, the representative of the Vatican State, and Jose Funes, bringing a special message to the participant.
Good morning. It is my honor and privilege to bring a message from Pope Francis, who is at this time returning to Rome from his trip to Paraguay. His Holiness Pope Francis warmly greets the participants and organizers of the 14th Marcel Grossmann meeting. Reflecting on the latest advances in the studies of gravitation and theory of general relativity, as well as expressing his admiration for the achievements attained in your research, and acknowledging the generosity with which you make them available for the good of humanity. He encourages you always to have in mind, along with the knowledge of the universe, a respect for each one of the beings of creation. While entrusting the progress of this meeting to the maternal care of the Virgin Mary, the Holy Father invokes over you the light of the Holy Spirit, so that with each new discovery, the beauty of the cosmos may show forth even more clearly the glory of its Creator, and hope in a better future may increase. With these sincere wishes, the Holy Father gladly imparts the implored apostolic blessing as a pledge of abundant celestial favors. Vatican City, 13 July 2015. Cardinal Pietro Parolin, Secretary of State of His Holiness.
There are also the representative of Stanford University, who is member of ICRANet, Francis Everitt. Maybe you can give just Francis a short message.
Well, having been to all 14 Marcel Grossmann meetings, I have just one thing to say, that I have never been bored at a Marcel Grossmann meeting.
Well, another university who is represented, who is member of ICRANet, is the University of Arizona in Tucson, and we have also the pleasure of having a professor of that university working between Los Alamos and the University of Arizona, Chris Fryer, who is very active with all of us on the astrophysics of gamma ray burst and many other topics, and it's a pleasure to have him here.
I just want to welcome everyone here. I can tell this is going to be a great meeting, so I'm very excited to be here.
And and from Armenia, we have the president of the Armenian Academy of Science, Professor Martirosyan, which I will ask later to come to sit with us here on the presidential room. And what can we? Let's go. There is going to be this exhibition, very, very beautiful, at the Besso Foundation, which will be open from 2 o'clock to 10 o'clock every day to all the participants of the Grossmann meeting. Of course, in the afternoon, we will have a parallel session, but and then in the evening, we will have some public lecture up to 7 o'clock, but still before dinner or after dinner, you can walk to the Foundation Besso, which is just in the heart of Rome, and you will enjoy this tremendous exhibition that Professor Goodfreund and Ren prepared, and I'm sure you will really enjoy. The Bessel Foundation is small, it's a large palace, but with small rooms. There is not amphitheater. Therefore, it's open to you all the afternoon, but in the only place where we can get together, there are 137 1/alpha seat. Therefore, we will have on Wednesday a celebration there for 137 of you, which will be broadcasted, but you will see the exhibition before or after, and I'm sure you will be very impressed. Okay, we can turn now to the award ceremony. Maybe can we have the first slides on the right side, and yes. Madame Choquet, one of them. And of course, I have shown the picture in the beginning of the first Marcel Grossmann. And Madame Choquet was with Lichnerovitz in the early time of relativity, a beam of light from Paris. She was at the first meeting, and we have been together since. Of course, she has been, like other people, receiving the greatest honor from the Académie of France and the French government. But for us, the most impressive maybe is that just recently she published still a jewel in general relativity. I would like her to say a few words and then to proceed to the distribution of the award.
Okay. I am does that work? Yes. I am proud and happy to deliver the beautiful awards drawn for this 14th Marcel Grossmann meeting. I have one myself, which is at the best place in my house, and which is admired by all my visitors. So I am very happy to give them now to some famous scientists who have contributed very much to the extraordinary development that general relativity, astrophysics, and cosmology has known for the last years. So these awards are delivered to Kenichi Nomoto for heralding the role of binary systems in the evolution of massive stars. Isn't that beautiful?
Thank you very much.
So they are by alphabetic order, no order of anything else. So the second awardee is Martin Rees for fostering research in black holes, gravitational waves, and cosmology. And the third awardee is Yakov Sinai for applying the mathematics of chaotic systems to physics and cosmology. The fourth is Sachiko Tsuruta for pioneering the physics of hot neutron stars and their cooling. And of course, I'm particularly happy to see a woman getting it. And the institutional Marcel Grossmann Award is given to the European Space Agency for the tremendous success of its scientific space missions in astronomy, astrophysics, cosmology, and fundamental physics, which have revolutionized our knowledge of the universe and hugely benefited science and mankind.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we all applaud them all.
Well, we go on with Johann-Dietrich Woerner, the newly appointed Director General of ESA, to maybe say a few words. Then we will have a break, and after the break we will have for a Roman word, Lectio Magistralis, and we will have first one by Yakov Sinai, then we will have another one by Martin Rees, and then we will have a third one by Gerhard Tuft, with our pleasure to see him and to have him today. Therefore, we proceed now to hear a message from Dr. Woerner.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure whether I dare to say dear colleagues, because maybe I'm the only non-scientist in this room. I'm just a civil engineer, but I have the pleasure and honor to be the Director General of ESA, and therefore I was able to receive or to accept the Marcel Grossmann Institutional Award for Science in the name of ESA. So it goes to the scientists within ESA, but also working with ESA. And it's very nice to be here because you heard already that 40 years ago there was the first Marcel Grossmann meeting, and exactly 40 years ago there was the foundation of ESA, and we are also celebrating, as you know, 100 years of the formulation of the Einstein equations. So what are the motivations of individuals and society? What are the motivations for you? What are the motivations for institutions? I believe one can have three different types of motivation. One is worries, for instance, about climate change. Another one is benefits or fascination, like you are doing, fascination of science. And the third one is responsibility, for instance, if we are looking to any man-made or natural disaster in the world. Today's society can be characterized, unfortunately, by a pure profit orientation and what is called a bargain hunting mentality. How does science fit to this, especially fundamental science? We need science as an important source in the innovation chain, from fundamental research to products, procedures, and understanding. Science is fascinating, and as I learned from my daughter, who is a physicist, it's at the same time disturbing. The observation of some effects, then the formulation of a model which fits best seems to be so trivial. But what if there is not just one model, but if you need more than one model, for instance, for the quantum mystery? I learned this morning, believe me or not, that Stephen Hawking will give a talk this evening, and when I prepared a short reaction for today's award, I was of course looking to Stephen Hawking and his excellent analogy of a goldfish in a bowl, which is for all of you, I'm sure, quite well known, especially if you're in Italy, because it was banned in Monza because of the poor fish not understanding what is happening around him, because he cannot follow our law of gravity, looking from inside the bowl to the outer world. However, are we so sure that we are not also in a bowl, in a special bowl? We are describing all effects with our views, with our instruments, and at the end of the day, what is really the truth? I quote another, because I'm just a civil engineer, so I quote another great guy, it's Carl Sagan, who said, "We are the universe trying to understand itself," which makes it again a little bit confusing for me. Anyhow, science is a backbone, not only for ESA as a mandatory program, but also for business and practical application. You know Faraday, of course, and whenever you say Faraday, everybody is saying, yeah, that's the guy with the cave. There's another story with Faraday. I don't know whether it's true or not, but it's a good story. At one day, he had a visit of a politician. It was said it was a prime minister. I'm not sure, but it makes no difference if it was not a politician or another guy. But no, a politician it should be. And he showed him how to generate electricity. And then, as you also facing sometimes the question, the politician asked, what is it good for? It's nice, but what it is good for? And Faraday very simply answered, no idea, but you will tax it. And this is something which we can learn. And another example, because 100 years after the foundation of Einstein's equation, of course it was for a long period, Einstein equations were just something for scientists, which is already good. I mean, to understand relativity or to have equations for that is already a major step. But today's navigation system everybody is using would have an error of more than 500 meters in 1 hour if you don't consider the Einstein equations. And I think what we all have to do is we have to communicate to the broad society that what you are doing in science is really worth the money. And therefore, again, thank you very much. And I call out to all you, to the scientists with Steve Jobs, stay hungry, stay foolish. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, and we will proceed now to the rest, but I understand there will be an enormous amount of work in the afternoon, in the morning, and then we have also to remember that there will be some special lecture in the evening. Rashid Sunyaev will present his understanding of the cosmology of the hot Big Bang tomorrow evening, and of course Kenji Nomoto and Tsuruta will give a very important lecture on Thursday evening, followed by Samuel Ting, who will bring the latest view from this race which is going on from the ground and from space in particle physics and in astrophysics. Just try to keep in order, and let's proceed to the rest of the meeting. Thank you for everyone to be here, and to a great MG14.